Hey guys, we're back, and this time we're going to be taking a look at something a little different. It's the Mercenaries and Big Little Buddy add-ons to GKR's Heavy Hitters. And the Mercenary guys here at the bottom, the smaller guys, can be hired at any point in place of one of your normal units in exchange for the normal cost of deploying a unit as well as discarding a sponsor card. But you can hire them. They become an addition to your force. You use one of these little pegs here that go on them to designate which team faction is in control of them. Once you have them, they're yours until they are destroyed, and they're in addition to your normal units, so you can also deploy all three of your standard units and a Merc. So, a lot of cool things on there, and they each have their own unique stats we'll get into in a minute. In the back row there, the bigger guy is Big Little Buddy. And he comes into play based on if you shuffle these sponsor cards into the sponsor deck, when one of those comes up, the player who plays it can gain control of him for one turn. You put one of your billboards on there to designate that he's under your control, and you can use him just like you would a heavy hitter or a support unit. He's got his own card here with his stats, as well as his own weapons he can choose from, which are really cool. I wish you got to keep him a little longer than one turn, but at the same time that would be kind of unbalanced. So it's neat, you get to control him for one turn, then he goes away. When somebody else plays one of those other sponsor cards, he comes back. Only one of those can ever be played in a turn, so if two people have one, whoever plays it first gets control of him for that turn. Then he despawns, he'll respawn when they play the next one, and under that person's control. So anyway, the first thing we want to get in and take a look at are our Mercs. And first one here is probably my main choice, and this is Zappy. And these cards are hard to see because they're total foil. I wish they had just foiled like the artwork or something, but Zappy's only got 2 hit points, 719, which is really nice for speed, and a decent weapon down here to boot. But energy based. 6 defend, which is normal for I think all of the Mercs have it, all the support units do. He can move 2 spaces. He has a range of 1 to 3, deals 2 damage. He has a line of sight of 4 hexes. And during the combat phase, on a successful hit against a heavy hitter, the target will lose 2 energy. So if you can manage to hit, it doesn't even say you have to do damage, if you can hit a heavy hitter, you're going to knock 2 energy off of them. Might make it so that some of their weapons that they're attempting to fire will push them into the negative. They'll start taking damage, or they might even not be able to fire in general because they ran out of power, which is kind of cool. If you hit a support unit, that unit's disabled and cannot fire or repair during the combat phase. Kind of a neat one. He disables enemy units. Only 2 hit points, but that's pretty standard as far as the Mercs go. I just really like him. Can't wait to get these guys painted too. And he's got a big like rail gun on there. Next up we have Morty. He's actually got a new weapon type that we haven't seen before, artillery. It's the only place in the entire game I think I've seen that. And which is funny because I think Hammer Strike has an artillery cannon as one of their weapons, but it's labeled as ballistic. So anyway, we have 419's pretty mediocre speed. 6 defend, 2 move. I think no, they don't all have it. They all have 6 defend, as do all support units. 2 move. Weapon range is 2 to 2, which means it's only going to hit things at range 2. Does 3 damage. Has a line of sight of 3 hexes. And it doesn't require a line of sight to the target. On a successful hit, you may move into an empty adjacent hex. Basically, he's lobbing up over things, but it has to be at range 2. So placement is a big thing with him. Got to keep that in mind. But that 3 damage is nice, and not needing a line of sight. You can literally stand on one side of a building, have your target on the other side of the building, and shoot up over the building. So that's really nice. And because of the artillery, because of not requiring a line of sight, you don't need a spotter like you do with a missile. He's an interesting model here. It looks more like a missile launcher on top than a mortar. That's the only drawback I see to it, but still a cool model. Next up, we have kind of a unique one. This one's Splody, and he has a new weapon type as well, Explosive. Pretty slow speed, which comes into play with what his ability is here. 6 defend, as with all the units. 3 movement, which is nice. Only a range 1, but you'll understand that when you see what his weapon is. And 3 damage. Has a line of sight of 2 hexes, which kind of sucks if you're trying to use him as a spotter. During the combat phase, he doesn't roll to attack. Instead, he can self-destruct. All adjacent enemy units take 3 damage with no armor save. That is just a super, super powerful weapon right there. But you got to keep in mind, if you're blowing him up, you're also losing your Merc. So you're paying the cost to deploy the Merc just to suicide him. But 3 damage to all units adjacent with no save. That can decimate a heavy hitter in his units if they're all grouped up and you manage to get in there. The alternative is if they destroy him, which they're going to want to shoot him before he gets into that range 1 to blow up. Then he he blows up when he's destroyed. He hits all adjacent units, friend or foe, and they all take 1 damage with no armor save. Then he's destroyed, removed from the board, and picked as or put back into the pile as another Merc to hire. Still an interesting concept. Basically, a suicide bomber runs in there, blows up. If you got to watch when you deploy him though, because if he gets blown up before he gets over to his target, he can hit friendlies too. But when you actually detonate him, he only hits enemies, which is awesome. And if you can get him right into the combat between maybe 2 enemy heavy hitters that are duking it out, run him right up there, do 3 damage that's unblockable to both of them, and just becomes a really mean option for a Merc. The model's kind of interesting. He's got all this armor plating in the front, but he has these explosive tanks here in the back, all wired up to, I'm guessing that's an antenna. Interesting guy, though. And then our last Merc here, I'm not sure if I'm missing one of the little hit point sliders, or if he didn't come with it, or maybe Big Little Buddy didn't come with it, and I stole one of theirs to use on him. Not that you need it with only a single hit point, though. Snipey's a ballistic. 619 is pretty respectable speed. 6 defend is standard. 1 movement, so he's kind of slow. Has that minimum range of 3. 3 to 5, though, is nice. Only 1 damage is the drawback here. Line of sight is 5 hexes, which is nice. And then he does the full damage on a successful hit without the chance for armor save. So basically, if you hit somebody, they're taking a damage. There's no save to it. That part of it's nice. I just wish it was maybe a 2. That might make him too powerful, though. But definitely has its uses. That 1 hit points is real drawback. You're going to have to keep him way back at that 5 range and just pick things off and hope they don't get in range to fire back. And then you have his little sniper rifle there. I'm assuming these are like a rangefinder with some armor plating. And then there you can see the hole where the marker goes to designate who's in control of him. And that's it for our Mercenaries. Now they were Kickstarter exclusives, so if you didn't back on the Kickstarter, you're not going to be able to get a hold of those. But you can still get your hands on Big Little Buddy back here. And Big Little Buddy's about twice the size of the support units. A little bit smaller than the heavy hitters though. Cool little guy. You can see the slot there for the billboard for who's in control. Definitely going to have to come up with a cool idea for painting him though. Big Little Buddy here has his own stat card. Every time he spawns, he's got 5 hit points. 5 defend puts him up there with the heavy hitters. And a 2 movement. You can only choose 1 of his weapons to fire during each turn. If he's destroyed during combat, the player who blows him up can actually steal a sponsor card from the player who controls him, so you have to keep that in mind. And he also has a 5+ to hit him when you do your attack rolls. He's got 5 hit points, so that should last him the round, but keep in mind if he does die, you're going to lose one of your sponsor cards if you have any. So that's the trade-off in using him. But having an extra semi-heavy hitter walking around helping you out is definitely worth the risk. And I showed these in the Kickstarter exclusive video, but these are your 3 weapon options for Big Little Buddy. And you have 1 explosive, 1 energy, and 1 ballistic. Explosives are nice because there are no defense cards that save against explosive weapons, so keep that in mind. First off here we have Bullet Buddy, which is a medium speed ballistic weapon. Costs no energy to fire because he doesn't have an energy bar. 3 to 4 range, so you got that 1 to 2 range blind spot, 2 damage. But you can attack each opposing unit within range. You have to roll separately to hit for each. So pretty much anything in that range 3 to 4, he's going to be firing at with that at 2 damage, which is very respectable. Next we have Laser Amigo, which is an energy weapon. Pretty slow speed for energy weapon there. Again, doesn't cost energy because he doesn't have a power meter. I'm not sure why they even put those on there. I think they just copied the weapon cards from the heavy hitters. Range 1 to 2, so it's relatively short range. Massive amount of damage though, 4 damage. And then on a successful hit, all enemy units adjacent to the target also take a damage without an armor save. That is a beastly weapon right there. You can hit a heavy hitter who's poking his head around the corner, and then hit a repair unit that's hiding behind him. You don't even need a line of sight to the secondary targets because it's kind of like an explosion when it hits the main target. So 4 damage to that initial target and a possible 1 to anything near it. Great if you can fire this into multiple combat where there's a bunch of guys right on top of each other duking it out. Maybe they got their repair bots in there as well. Fun weapon there. And then finally we have the Mind Mate, which is that explosive weapon. Mediocre speed, it's on the low end, but 2 to 3 range, so you got that 1 range blind spot, 2 damage. And you actually fire this at a hex on the ground. And on a 6+ on 2d6, all units, friend or foe, in the hex and each adjacent hex take 2 ballistic damage. They get their normal armor save. So you're basically hitting a wide grid area. You can hit 7 squares with that when you fire it. And being that it's that explosive one, you can't use your reactive or reaction cards to combat it. That's pretty much a look at everybody here. Big Little Buddy is a really cool add-on to have. Definitely worth picking up if you're into the game. I wish he stuck around for more than 1 turn at a time, but that would bring in balance issues and things, and he is pretty powerful, so it's a cool add-on to have. When you draw the random sponsor card, you get to bring them into play. It's just a really cool and thematic addition to the game. You can almost hear the announcer going, "Uh-oh, somebody's activated Big Little Buddy," and he comes running out, and starts firing. Just a cool thing. It really fits thematic with the game. The Mercenaries, while they are a cool addition, do not get used as much. I don't think. The cost of paying to deploy them and discarding a sponsor card is a bit steep. And in rare circumstances, we've seen people use them just to try them out. Usually it's going to be Zappy because he seems to be the best of them, at least for my playstyle, though I have seen Splody used pretty scarily. And the downside to them is that they were Kickstarter exclusives, which is very disappointing. I hate when companies do content like that that's exclusive. Now that's not to say they won't release new Mercs sometime in the future as a standalone expansion or whatever, but as far as I know, exclusive means you're never going to see Zappy, Morty, Splody, and Snipey available. Now they may have different ones that function similar or things like that. I can't say. I really do hope they keep expanding on the game and adding more, but it would be cool to see Mercs available to those who didn't back the Kickstarter. Anyway, that's kind of a quick look at our Mercenaries and the Big Little Buddy add-ons. I did review videos for all of the different factions, so I thought I'd do one for the Mercs as well. And absolutely love the game and can't wait to play it more. It's always fun to get it out on the table and everybody walking by stops and goes, "Hey, what is that?" And I really got to get these guys painted up. I think for my Mercs, I'm planning on doing them black with like a silver or gray wash to highlight the detail, and then go back through and do like the cables and things, paint up some different little details, and maybe like on Splody do the fuel tanks in red or orange, that kind of thing. Have no idea what I'm going to do with Big Little Buddy. The images of him, I think, are just plain gray in the cards and things, and I really want him to stand out, so I'm going to have to come up with something cool for him. Yeah, see, there's our Big Little Buddy image. He's kind of a light gray. Maybe it's supposed to be white and it's just shadows, but either way, We'll find something to make him look cool. And see where we go from there. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this look at our mercenary units for GKR's heavy hitters. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.